I never thought something bad could happen on my birthday. It was supposed to be normal. It was supposed to be safe. It was supposed to be happy. I was turning 18 that day. I was a high school senior living in a quiet American suburb. My parents trusted me enough to let me have a small birthday party at home. Nothing big. Just pizza, soda, and a few close friends. A normal teenage night. The house was quiet when I woke up that morning. I remember the sunlight coming through my bedroom window. I remember checking my phone and seeing birthday messages from relatives and friends. I remember thinking the day felt calm. Too calm. I walked downstairs to the kitchen and noticed the back door was unlocked. That wasn't normal.
My parents were strict about that.
They never left doors unlocked overnight. I locked it and told myself they probably forgot. It didn't feel scary. Just strange. An hour later, I heard a soft sound upstairs. It sounded like someone walking slowly across the floor. I stopped and listened. Nothing. I told myself it was the house settling. Old houses make noise. That's normal. But a few minutes later, I noticed my bedroom door was open. I always closed it.
I felt a small tightness in my chest.
Not fear. Just confusion. I walked upstairs slowly and pushed the door wider. Everything looked normal. My bed was untouched. My desk looked the same. My closet door was closed. I stared at it longer than I should have.
I don't know why.
I walked back downstairs and tried to forget about it. But the feeling stayed. By the afternoon, I started noticing little things that didn't make sense. A chair slightly moved at the kitchen table. Footsteps when no one else was home. A faint smell, like sweat or something stale, in the upstairs hallway. I checked the house quickly. Nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid. It was my birthday. I was overthinking everything. But deep down, I felt like something was wrong. Like someone had been inside my house. Like someone had tea. Like someone had walked through rooms while I was asleep. I kept telling myself I was crazy. I kept telling myself it was just nerves. But when I checked the hallway mirror that afternoon, I saw a fingerprint on the glass that didn't belong to me. And that's when I knew this wasn't going to be a normal birthday. I lived with my parents in a quiet middle-class neighborhood in Ohio. The houses were close together but still private. Everyone kept their lawns clean, and most people on the street knew each other. It was the kind of place where nothing ever really happened. Our house was a two-story home with light yellow walls and a small fenced backyard. Inside, it felt safe and familiar. The living room had a worn brown couch and a TV I had since middle school. The kitchen always smelled faintly, like coffee in the mornings. Upstairs was where all the bedrooms were, including mine at the end of the hallway. That day felt normal. It was a Friday and it was late afternoon. The sky was cloudy, but it wasn't storming. The air felt heavy, like rain might come later, but nothing unusual was happening. I had the windows open to let fresh air in. The curtains moved slightly with the breeze. My parents had planned a short weekend trip. They trusted me to stay home alone. They didn't think anything bad could happen. They told me not to invite too many people over. Just close friends. Kids they already knew. That's why I was there. I wanted a simple birthday. I didn't want anything crazy. I just wanted to hang out, play music, and feel grown up for one night. Around 6 p.m., I started getting ready. I cleaned the living room. I moved the coffee table to make space. I set paper plates and plastic cups on the kitchen counter. I put soda cans in the fridge. I stacked pizza boxes on the counter, ready for when everyone would arrive. My best friend Mark was the first person to get there. He had been my friend since middle
school.
He helped me set up the speakers and test the music. We sat on the floor for a few minutes just talking about school and joking around. By 7 p.m., the sky had gotten darker. Not scary dark. Just evening dark. More people started showing up. About 8 friends in total.
Just classmates.
Just normal people I saw every day. Everyone was relaxed. Some people sat in the living room. Some hung out in the kitchen. Someone turned the music on low in the background. Someone opened the windows a bit more because it felt warm inside. The house felt full. The house felt alive. Everything felt normal. Nothing felt scary yet. That's why I didn't notice it at first. I didn't notice how quiet it got upstairs. I didn't notice the way the hallway felt darker than it should have. I didn't notice the slight creak of the floorboards overhead, because at that moment, I still believed I was safe. I didn't notice the feeling right away. It started slowly. It was quiet. It was small. At first, it was just sounds. I was standing in the kitchen talking to one of my friends when I heard a soft thump upstairs. It sounded like someone dropping something. I paused for a second and looked toward the hallway. No one else reacted. The music was still playing. People were laughing. So I ignored it. A few minutes later, I walked past the stairs to grab more cups from the cabinet. As I passed the bottom of the stairs, I heard the sound of light footsteps above me. Slow steps. Soft pressure on wood. I stopped and listened. Nothing. I told myself someone probably went upstairs and came back down. I didn't remember anyone doing that, but I didn't want to make it awkward by saying anything. Then I noticed the air felt different. The living room felt warm and loud. The kitchen felt bright and full. But the hallway felt empty. The hallway leading to the stairs looked darker than normal. Not pitch black. Just darker. Like the light didn't reach it properly. I found myself staring at it. Someone brushed against my shoulder in the hallway, and I jumped slightly. I laughed it off, so no one would notice. My heart rate felt a little faster. I went upstairs to use the bathroom. The music downstairs sounded distant now. The air upstairs felt colder. The carpet felt soft under my feet, but every step sounded louder than it should have. I reached the bathroom and turned on the light. The mirror had a faint smudge on it. It looked like a fingerprint. I don't remember it being there earlier. When I washed my hands, I heard a slow exhale behind me. Not loud, not clear, just breath. I froze. I looked over my shoulder. No one was there. I told myself it was just air from the vent. That's what I wanted to believe. When I walked back into the hallway, one of the bedroom doors was slightly open. I was sure it had been closed before. I stood there for a second, looking at the dark crack between the door and the wall. I waited for movement. Nothing happened. I slowly pushed it open. The room was empty, but the air felt wrong. It smelled like sweat, like old clothing. I felt my skin tighten. Not panic, just instinct. I walked back downstairs.
People were still laughing.
People were still eating. The party still felt normal to everyone else, but not to me. From that moment on, I felt like I was being watched. Like someone was just out of sight. Like someone was standing in corners when I wasn't looking. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to ruin the night. I didn't want to seem crazy. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone in my own house. The feeling didn't go away. It got stronger. The longer the party went on, the more wrong everything started to feel. A little after 8 p.m., the music stopped by itself. I didn't think much of it at first. I thought maybe the speaker battery died. But when I checked it, the speaker was still on. The phone connected to it was still playing the music. There was no sound coming out. I unplugged it and plugged it back in.
Still nothing.
Everyone started talking louder to fill the silence. And that's when I heard it. A slow dragging sound upstairs. Not footsteps. Not creaking. Something being pulled across the floor. I looked at the ceiling like I could see through it. No one else reacted. I didn't say anything. A few minutes later, one of my friends asked where the bathroom was upstairs. I told him. He walked up the stairs and disappeared around the corner. He came back down less than a minute later. His face looked strange. He looked confused. He leaned close to me and whispered, "Why is there someone standing in your hallway?" My stomach dropped. I looked up the stairs. The hallway light upstairs was off, but the door at the end of the hall was slightly open, and I could see a shadow behind it, not moving, just standing there. I told my friend he was probably imagining things, but I couldn't look away. Then the shadow moved. It shifted slowly, closer to the door, closer to the stairs. The air in the house felt tight. People started noticing the change in mood. The laughter died down.
People started looking at me.
I tried to act normal. I walked toward the stairs. Each step felt heavy.
Step. Step.
Halfway up, I heard breathing again. This time it was louder. This time it wasn't in the walls. It was close. Very close. The shadow was bigger now. It filled the gap in the door. I stopped. I couldn't move forward anymore. Behind me, the house felt too quiet. Someone bumped into me from behind, and I almost lost my balance. At that exact moment, every light in the house went out. Total darkness. Someone screamed. Someone knocked something over. In the darkness, I heard footsteps running upstairs.
Fast.
Heavy. Not normal. Not playful. Running straight toward me. I felt trapped. I felt cornered. I knew something was coming, and I had nowhere to go. When the lights went out, everything turned chaotic. People were talking loudly. Someone was laughing. Nah. Calm down. But I wasn't listening. I was listening to the footsteps. They were coming down the stairs.
Fast.
Heavy. Uneven. I stepped back and held onto the wall so I wouldn't trip. I could barely see anything, but I could feel the presence. The air felt tight. The air felt hot.
Then I saw him.
The emergency light from the smoke detector flickered just enough to show a shape at the bottom of the stairs. It was a man. He was tall.
Thin.
Dark clothes. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could see his posture. He wasn't confused.
He wasn't lost. He was looking at me.
He started walking toward me through the dark.
Slow.
Controlled. I felt my body lock up for a second. Then instinct kicked in. I grabbed my best friend's arm and pulled him with me toward the kitchen. People were shouting behind us. Someone yelled my name. The back door wouldn't open. I unlocked it. My hands felt weak. It wouldn't budge. I heard footsteps behind me, closer than before. I could hear his breathing now.
Loud.
Uneven. I ran to the pantry and pulled the door open. I shoved myself and my friend inside and slammed it shut. Total darkness. Seconds felt like minutes. I covered my mouth to stay quiet. I could hear him walking through the kitchen. Slow steps. Something brushed against the pantry door. I could see a thin strip of light under the door as someone passed by. The handle rattled. He tried the door. It didn't open. I took my phone out of my pocket with shaking hands and dialed 911. I whispered my address. I told them there was a man in my house. The operator told me to stay quiet. The footsteps moved away. Then they came back. Faster this time. Angrier. He hit something. A chair fell. Glass shattered. I pressed my forehead against the door and tried to control my breathing. I thought he was going to come back and break the door down. I thought that was it. Then I heard sirens in the distance. The man stopped moving. The house went silent. And I realized I had left my birthday cake out on. And I didn't think I'd ever be able to walk back into that kitchen again. The sirens got louder. Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Someone knocked hard on the front door. The man stopped moving completely. The house felt frozen. I stayed in the pantry until I heard a loud voice announce, "Police." I slowly opened the door. The kitchen was destroyed. A chair was flipped over. A glass cup was broken on the floor. The air smelled wrong. Heavy.
Dirty.
2 police officers moved past me toward the stairs. They had flashlights and their hands were on their weapons. They searched every room.
Closets.
Under beds. Behind doors. One of the officers called me upstairs. My legs felt weak. When I reached the top of the stairs, I saw the open bedroom. My parents' room. The closet door was open. Inside, the officer was holding a man down on the floor in handcuffs. He looked older than I thought. Late 30s maybe. His clothes were dirty. His hair was long and greasy. His eyes were wide. He looked calm.
Too calm.
Then the officer pulled something from the man's jacket. A knife. Not a small one. A long kitchen knife. The officer told me they found him hiding in the house before the party started. Not during. Before. He had been inside while I was cleaning. He had been inside while I was upstairs. He had been inside while I was texting my friends. They checked my house cameras. I didn't even know we had cameras. The officer showed me the footage. The video was from earlier that day. I saw myself in the kitchen. Cleaning. moving cups, setting plates. And behind me, someone slowly stepped out of the hallway.
The same man. He was watching me, silent, still.
Then he stepped back out of view. My stomach dropped. The officer then told me something worse. The back door wasn't just unlocked that morning. It had been forced open overnight. The lock was broken. This wasn't random. This wasn't accidental.
He had broken in.
He had stayed. He had waited. Waiting for me. Waiting for Nig. They didn't tell me how long he had been watching the house. They didn't tell me what he planned to do. But I could see the knife. I could see his eyes. And I understood enough. He wasn't trying to steal. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was planning something much worse. And he had been inside my house the entire time. They took him away that night. The police lights left slowly. The sirens faded. The street went quiet again like nothing had ever happened. My friends went home in silence. No one joked. No one laughed. No one talked about my birthday. They just left. I sat on the front steps of my house with a blanket around my shoulders while an officer asked me questions.
What time did I first hear something?
Was any door unlocked? Did I recognize him? I kept saying no.
No. No.
I didn't know him. I didn't understand any of it. My parents came home early the next morning. They hugged me tightly. They kept telling me I was safe now. But the house didn't feel safe anymore. A few days later, I went back inside alone. I tried to live normally. I tried to sleep in my own bed. I tried to forget. At night, I started hearing things.
Soft sounds.
Small movements. Floorboards creaking. I told myself it was just stress. I told myself it was just fear stuck in my head. But sometimes, I would notice small things. A cabinet slightly open. Shoes moved from where I left them. My bedroom door cracked open when I was sure I had closed it. The police told us the man was taken into custody. They never told us how long he had been watching our house. They never told us if he had done this before. They never told us why he chose my home. Weeks passed. Then months. Life started to feel normal again on the outside. But inside, I was always listening. Always watching. Always checking locks. One night, I was lying in bed staring at the ceiling. I heard a slow breath. Not from the vent. Not from outside. From inside my room. I turned on my phone flashlight. Nothing. But when I walked to there was a new fingerprint on the glass. And I don't remember touching it. To this day, I still don't know who that man was. I don't know if he ever came back. I don't know if someone else was ever inside my house again. All I know is this. I still check my closet before I go to sleep. And sometimes I feel like someone is standing right behind me,